This is the Mariners POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Seattle Mariners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, the offense sort of bounces back.
A little bit.
But it happens to be on a night where Bryce Miller is starting. And he does not look himself now, unfortunately. Anderson Hurst here live with Christopher Crawford on the Locked On Mariners postcast. Really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us live right after every single Mariners final pitch. We're going to break down, a little bit of bounce back game from the offense, but unfortunately still not enough.
Right.
The big topic today is Bryce Miller, I think. That's going to be the majority of our conversation, whether he should still be pitching, what's the kind of prognosis moving forward with him, and how we kind of fix this, because it's getting kind of ugly, unfortunately. So welcome in. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Couple things we can hit before we get to Bryce Miller if you want to, but what are your first takeaways, Chris Crawford?
No, I think it is really about Bryce Miller and just how much he does not look like the Bryce Miller that we saw at the end of 2024. I think it's easy for us to forget because there are so many quality starting pitchers on this team. Bryce Miller might have been the best at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Like, he was really, really good. It looked like he was taking that step forward. And whether it's because of injury or regression or a combination of both, he just ain't the same pitcher. So I actually do think the first 3 innings, he looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the stuff looked fine. And so that's my encouraging takeaway from this, is that, hey, there were flashes of that Bryce Miller that we saw so much in 2023 and for the majority of 2024. But then the other innings happened, and the other innings were ugly. And it's a reminder that this guy skipped a rehab start. This guy, they chose to just have him go straight in. And I get it, and I don't. And I think right now we are paying the price a little bit for Bryce Miller not making 1 or 2 rehab starts when you have somebody like Logan Evans, who isn't as good as Bryce Miller. He's not. When the two are at their best, it's not even close. It's Bryce
right now
Miller.
He probably is.
But right now, Logan Evans seems like a better starting pitching option for the Seattle Mariners. And that's just disappointing, because I thought Bryce Miller was going to be one of the top 10 or 15 starters in Major League Baseball, because he was for a lot of the year last year too. Right now, he is more of a detriment than an asset to the Seattle Mariners.
Which is weird to say. It's weird to say that one of your 5 guys that you felt like was the strength and backbone of your team, you have to outscore your issues. And the offense almost did today. I think if we're talking silver linings, we've been really frustrated with the offense in general over the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a being on the road thing, but it looks slightly more like the April/early May Mariners, where they're battling a little bit more. They kind of get Kyle Hendricks early. Now, I understand it's Kyle Hendricks,
sure,
and his 89-mile-an-hour sinker that he finds a way to dot every single time. But, that's what he is at this point.
Sure.
But still, like, these are the types of pitchers that would give Mariners tons of issues recently, and they were better today. You started to see some driving of the baseball. Randy walked for the first time, and I don't know how long. He did twice actually today, which was great.
Great to see.
JP, another decent RBI. Julio drove the baseball. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And like, there looked like it was like, okay, these guys kind of are bouncing back a little bit, but it's just Bryce Miller, man. I mean, that's why you lost this game today.
You lost this game because of Bryce Miller, but you also a little bit lost this game because of, I know they end up getting 2 runs in the inning. Only getting 2 runs in that inning where they load the bases with nobody out feels like a huge disappointment. To do the old Denny Green, they let him off the hook. The Seattle Mariners really let him off the hook. I want to talk specifically about, so Rowdy Tellez hits a baseball very hard, and it would have been a home run in 24 of 30 parks, according to Baseball Savant, had a very high exit velocity. That ball should have been hit 100,000 billion trillion feet. Like, that should have gone out of every MLB baseball park, Yellowstone, Tolney State, whatever park you want to name in Seattle that's too expensive to actually park to go to. That ball should have been destroyed. And that was really, to me, and it's very easy hindsight 2020, that was the biggest moment of the game. Because the fact that you only get that sack fly there on a inning where you should have put together like 5 or 6 runs. Kyle Hendricks was terrible tonight.
Yeah.
He was terrible. And the Mariners took advantage of it, but didn't take advantage of it enough. And again, even though we're talking this time about a not very good start, the Mariners offense isn't good enough to overcome giving up 5 runs. They're just not. They are not an offense that is going to score 6 or 7 like they were in the earlier portion of the season. That's not where they are right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, the blame goes to Bryce Miller because, and I would honestly argue that we could talk about Dan Wilson leaving Bryce Miller in for the 5th inning.
Yeah.
I understand it was a low pitch count. I also understand you want to build this guy up. Build him up in Tacoma. Bryce Miller's next start should be in Tacoma, whether it's an injury rehab start or whether it's just to get right. Bryce Miller's next start should be made in Tacoma.
I completely agree with you, especially when you have a Logan Evans who, like we say, once again, at their best, is not as good as Bryce Miller. He's not
100%.
the long-term guy in the top 5 here, but he's performed well and shown that he can pitch at this level.
Sure.
I get if you maybe don't have any options, like if Jonathan Diaz or nothing was your option, then okay, fine.
Exactly.
Fine. Or Luis F. Castillo was still on this team.
That would be a different situation.
This is a different situation, but you have a Logan Evans there ready to go, showing that he can do it.
Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. And it's just frustrating because this is not a insult or an indictment to Bryce Miller's long-term future. This guy is going to be a stud. He just needs to go to Tacoma to work on some things, and he needs to go to Tacoma to build up some stamina as well. Because it was clear that second time through the lineup, the command wasn't as good and the stuff wasn't as sharp. There's no shame in going down to Tacoma and working on some stuff, buddy.
Yeah, and I'm going to push back a little bit on the bases loaded inning because maybe it's me being having lower expectations.
Maybe
we've seen many times where the Mariners get 0 or maybe 1 run from that situation. They hit like a productive out and then they ground into a double play or something. So them getting 2 productive outs, I think, is not the end of the world in that situation. I get he was bad, but you have other opportunities to get him, and scoring 4 runs, 5 runs. They scored 4 today.
4. Yeah.
That should be enough for this pitching staff. It really should.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Angels were just like coming out with, Ohtani and Trout here. Trout actually didn't have a great game, but it was just these meatballs that Bryce Miller was throwing up to them in these terrible situations.
Yeah.
And it was weird because in the first couple innings, I was actually thinking to myself, like, oh, okay, 96 on the fastball. This guy looks more like last year. And his other stuff is looking good. I was like, okay, this is the Bryce Miller that we know and love. And then it was that pitch to, who was it? Was it to Darno?
Travis d'Arnaud, yeah.
Oh, my God. 2 strikes, and he just throws the absolute meatball of meatballs straight down the middle, as down the pipe as it gets. And that's what not even good. That's what big leaguers do. They hit that out of the park.
For sure. Yeah. And Travis d'Arnaud has a history, even though with the Angels, it hasn't gone as great as I'm sure they would have liked it to, but he does have a history of being I think he's a 2-time All-Star. He's going to hit mistake pitches. And oh boy, was that a mistake. Just to back up real quick to that bases loaded. You're not wrong. You got 2 runs out of that. And but to me, those weren't so much productive outs. Those were, this could be worse outs. And I just felt like not getting a single hit in that situation was a huge bummer because the way the Mariners have been playing in close games, and yes, I know they get 2 walk-off wins against Minnesota. I just maybe it's a personal thing for me where my expectations are if you have close baseball games right now, I don't feel like Seattle's going to come out on top. So I thought the chance to not break that open was a massive situation there because, man, that pitch to Rowdy Tellez, I mean, that's a 20 grade pitch. Like absolutely middle. It had velocity of 82 or something like that. Just like Rowdy's eyeballs might have been the size of his stomach. And again, I love my big beefy boy, but those are big eyeballs. That ball has to be just absolutely. That's got to go into the Disneyland parking lot. And I don't even think the stadium's all that near Disneyland. I'd love to find out sometime.
Yeah. There's a couple positives from this game. Julio was 2 for 4 with
2 for 4.
2 for 4 with a triple, an RBI triple that took the lead, I think, at that point in the game.
4-3.
It looked like it was going to be enough.
Yeah, I thought it was going to get out. And I will also say, I kind of thought that we might be talking inside the park homer too. And I didn't get the reverse angle. I know Goldsmith was thinking maybe he was going to go. They put the brakes on hard, and I get it. You know, you've got Big Dumper coming to the plate.
I think it was 1 out too.
There was 2. It was 2.
Oh,
and that was okay. That was why I was so encouraged by the way, was that he drove a baseball with 2 outs and
with a guy in scoring position.
So that was great to see. On top of that, what a spectacular catch he makes to Rob.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, like just perfect timing and perfect athleticism there. That was a spectacular catch. It was great to see after Julio played probably the worst game of his season last night. It's certainly the worst I can remember. This was one of his better games that he doesn't hit a home run. Also had the stolen base, I believe. So he's up to 10 there.
Stole third.
That's right. I think we all kind of had a good idea that Julio would get to the double digits in both homers and stolen bases this year. But you know what? It's great to see it happen a lot earlier than it did last year.
Yeah, and No God 206 mentions that if we're going to say that Rowdy should have crushed his, then Julio should have crushed his out of the park as well.
100%.
So I mean, these are minimal things where it's the difference in the game, though. And
sure.
But you should. I still go back to Bryce Miller. That is the reason you should expect your guy to come out and shove against this lineup. It's not a very good lineup. No, I get that their park for whatever reason seems to be offensively productive with everyone. Yeah, but it's Mike Trout hitting 230, working his way back from his injury. Yeah, and then a whole lot of Zach Neto's having a pretty decent season.
Zach Neto's a good player. Zach Neto's a good player, and they've got some guys who have some power. Taylor Ward was in the middle of May was like Taylor Ward is the most inconsistent baseball player I've ever seen in my life. When it's hot, it's hot. When it's not, it's not. You notice that when you write about fantasy baseball for a living. I just have to remind people, go pick up him now. And reminder, you need to drop him in about 2 weeks because it's going to go absolutely terrible. It's not like the least talented lineup in baseball, but you shouldn't give up 5.
No,
you shouldn't give up 5 as the starter to this offense.
Well, the bullpen looked pretty good. I think that's a very encouraging sign after a pretty tough homestand.
Yeah.
You get Jackson Kowar comes in. He has a couple hard outs, we'll say. Gets a little lucky a couple times. One of them was that Julio catch, by the way.
Sure.
But Eduardo Bazardo. I just wrote on my notes, Eduardo Bazardo, ... Damn.
Yeah, that's the best stuff I've seen from him, and it's not even close. And he's really, I do feel bad for him because I don't want this to happen. I want to make this abundantly clear. He's going to have a long-term injury because of how much the Seattle Mariners have pitched him.
Seriously.
It's going to happen.
I saw something where he has the most innings thrown out of a reliever the Mariners this season.
Yeah, he has just been that opposite of victory cigar guy sometimes. And just the guy that they have just felt okay with using in multiple innings. And it sucks because I really do feel kind of bad for the guy, as bad as I can feel for a major league player who gets to live out his dream. Because something bad's going to happen. And I hope I'm wrong. I pray I'm wrong. And Eduardo Bazardo is just that rare dude who doesn't have something happen to him. But man, he was good today. The stuff was electric. And Jackson Kowar, I felt really good for. They brought it up in the broadcast. Jackson Kowar's MLB debut came against the Angels, and it went real bad. Real bad. So, he needs the Julio catch to prevent the ERA from not going up there.
Ballooning,
but I think the stuff from Jackson Kowar has been pretty darn good. I think there is a chance that he can be a helper, and they're going to need him with Colin Snyder on the injured list. Say what you will about Colin Snyder. That's a loss. That is a loss to this bullpen for sure because of his ability to at least get righties out. The type of guy I like pitching in the 6th or 7th inning more than the 9th or 10th, which you had to see him pitch a lot. But it was very nice to see Eduardo Bazardo allow you to not use your high leverage guys today.
Send us in who you guys think unsung hero of the day is. If you're kind of new to this show, we every single Mariners game we kind of give out a moment or a player that may not have originally been thought of, or kind of goes under the radar a little bit. We sometimes solicit who you guys think it is. Sometimes we have one in mind already, but I think there's a couple good options today. And then after I want to ask you, Chris, about Cole Young, sure. Because offensively it doesn't look great. I think we can have a conversation, not if like he's a long-term issue whatsoever. It's not about that. It's just about him this year at this point. But first, I want to ask or talk about some FanDuel.
Okay.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot like yesterday, that was great, or a breakout player, again, like yesterday, there's never been a better time to get in on the action.
That's right. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I imagine you're going to get a pretty good point spread if you want to bet on the Pacers for this next game coming up. I would be awfully tempted to take that. This just kind of feels like a team of destiny to me. I'll take the over on Aaron Nesmith points. I think he's going to have a really big game. Okay. And once again, if you can get the odds of the Thunder quitting and just not becoming a franchise anymore, take the money, man, because I'm going to do everything in my power.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Sorry, Locked On Thunder. You're a great channel and you do a great job.
Just choose a new team. How about that? New to FanDuel. If you are new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right. Before we get to, perfect comment to leave on there, I think, at this point. Yeah. Before we get to Unsung Hero, there's some great options today. I have one in mind, and I think you do too, Chris Crawford. I'm going to ask the Cole Young question because I think today he moved his batting average down to, 0.53 with a 153 OPS. Yes, the sample size is just a couple weeks.
You're right.
And he did have that moment in his MLB debut, and the defense has been good. Yeah. And we know he's like, it's not a long-term question. It just happens with prospects a lot of these times. But for the 2025 Seattle Mariners, do you think you could be getting more out of second base with like a Leo Rivas or a Miles Mastrobuoni?
No, I don't think so. And in part because I am such a fan of what Cole Young has done defensively. And look, I am someone who values defense a lot, especially for a team that is still built more on run prevention than run scoring. I think defense is really, really important. Having said that, if this keeps going this way for another week, give or take, you probably got to consider the demotion. And there's nothing wrong with that. Lots and lots of one of the greatest players I've ever seen in my entire life played in right field today, Mike Trout. And I don't think you could overstate just how badly he was at Major League Baseball to begin his career. I just truly don't. And no, I am not saying Cole Young is going to be as good as Mike Trout. He's going to be better. No, I'm saying that I have seen thousands of Major League prospects, and that feels like hyperbole, but it's really not. Thousands of them stink and then come up and become great players. There's no harm in setting him to AAA if this doesn't work out and he's not ready. You got to give it a little more time. Based on, for me, the whole thing with Cole Young, and as Brett points out, he's played only 6 games. It's been 6 bad games. Even the game that he drives in the run was not great. A little blooper. Thank goodness he makes contact to allow that run to score, but it wasn't great by any means. Where it's been really good is defensively. He has looked the part and then some with the glove. But you gotta give it some time, and you gotta remember that, like, this team is still built on run prevention. It's more important for Cole Young to be good at defense than offense, in my personal opinion, especially up the middle, because you should be able to find guys who can get on base more. And Leo Rivas is probably a better OBP guy, but he offers zero power whatsoever. Right. You want Mastroboni to be that utility guy. You want him to be the guy who's filling in at third base, filling in left field, filling in at second base here and there. So you got to give Cole Young a shot. You can't give it too long of a shot. And here's the thing. A few people bringing up the trade value thing, my buddy Nelson does right here. Major league teams aren't dumb. Like they aren't going to say, oh, we can't trade for Cole Young because he wasn't good at Major League Baseball for a week and a half. That's not going to happen. But I also understand the thought process too, that like, oh man, it sure would look better if he's in the minors clobbering pitches than flailing at major league stuff. And I wouldn't say flailing. I would just say he doesn't look like he's on top of the ball right now.
Yeah, and some of it comes from, I think if this lineup was longer and you had more major league players, 1 through 9, that you could afford one of these guys, but you really don't have that necessity right now.
No.
And so I just think you need more offensive production from as many spots as you can get. Because this team is so fragile down the lineup.
Absolutely.
And we talked about it. Like this offense, if Julio and Cal don't go, this offense is nothing.
Yeah.
They're straight nothing. So maybe it's too harsh on him. Maybe it is, but it's just, we got to get more from that spot. And at this point, I think he's hurting you, especially offensively.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Like there is, and here's the thing, like Ben Williamson has a great game. We might talk about Ben Williamson in a second, but when you have two of those players in your infield, and here's the positive spin on everything for the Seattle Mariners. Outside of center field and outside of catcher, the Mariners have the opportunity. This is the positive spin on it. The opportunity to upgrade everywhere. You have the ability to upgrade everywhere. Now, will they upgrade everywhere? No, they're not going to upgrade. They're not going to upgrade. Oh my, I got my Sonic shirt on too.
Let's go.
Yes.
Yeah. They're not going to upgrade everywhere.
Yeah. They're not going to upgrade everywhere. JP Crawford is going to play the shortstop position as long as he's healthy. Randy Rosarina is going to be left field as long as he's healthy. But they can upgrade at those positions. And if you can get that star, those are guys you can move around a little bit. You can move Randy Rosarina to DH. You can move JP Crawford to second base. You can move Ben Williamson to the minor leagues, even though we'll talk about him in a second. There is the golden opportunity for the Seattle Mariners to get better in so many places. The negative way to look at it is, holy crap, this team needs to get better
not good right now.
in a lot of places.
Yeah, and maybe it's, again, like it goes to, if we were in a different position. I think this team right now, we're not in a position to be able to wait for these guys and wait for them to come up, wait for Cole Young to be good. Yeah. I get Ben Williamson is kind of on and off, good defensively, and you know, he's a fine if he's your 9th best hitter. But right now, I don't think he is.
No, that's the thing. That is a good point. Like the way Tavares has played, the way that Cole Young has played, you know, it just, I don't know, man. They got to get better quick.
Yeah, and this is where, if you're an Angels, just play Cole Young for the rest of the season, right? You know, you're not going anywhere. You know,
1,000,000,000%. Yeah. He's up. This is his way to get through some stuff. The Mariners can't afford to have Cole Young go through some stuff.
Or even if you're the Dodgers, right? And you have superstars 1 through 6.
Yes.
And then, okay, let's bring up a Dalton Rushing and be our catcher and check it out. And, you know, if he's bad, it's just one guy. The rest of our lineup's really dang good.
Right.
But in the Mariners and a lot of these other teams in the middle area where you're competing now, but your lineup still isn't very good. You need every single player that you possibly can. You don't have the luxury to be waiting on these guys. So I think the front office may have misjudged their opportunity window here. And this is a longer term conversation for Ty and Colby. I understand that we're just reacting to this game, but it's a bigger picture thing that showed itself in this game, and it has shown itself recently, that they need to go get players that are good right now, because this team can go win this division right now. This division sucks, man. It sucks. It might be the worst in baseball, and this is your year. I get you have some starting pitching injuries, but God, go upgrade this lineup, please. Don't just wait. Cole Young's our second baseman. We don't want to block him off. No, go get some guys. Go get a first baseman. Go get a second baseman. Hell, go get a third baseman. Get a left fielder. Put Randy at DH. I don't care. I really don't at this point.
Real quick, do you personally, and I'm a guy who writes about prospects for a living, so I have my own thought on this. Do you, because of the struggles of Cole Young, does that affect you wanting Harry Ford to be in this lineup right now?
Yeah, it does. It honestly does. I think it kind of second, like, oh, wait, this is what could be Harry Ford at this point, right?
Yeah. And that's your designated hitter if he's coming up.
Exactly. So, I mean, again, there's a chance he could come up and light the world on fire. We never know.
Sure.
But it's all depending on what it would be otherwise, right? So second, like if both of them are pretty bad if you don't play either one of them.
Sure.
So like the fact that he gives you more than like a Mitch Garver against righties, and right now Jorge Polanco, I get he's had a hit in the last couple of games. He still can't put the ball in the air. He can't put the ball in the air. Like he has hit ground balls, I think, every single time he puts the ball in play for the last month. It seems like it to me.
Even the double yesterday was a ground ball. So
So I mean, I go back and forth on that, but yes, you're right. This definitely is kind of a reminder that, okay, maybe it's not as much of a sure thing that these guys come up and are better than replacement level players.
No doubt. Should we do our unsungs?
Let's do our unsung really quick before we get out of here. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate you hanging with us today. Who you got, Chris Crawford?
Ben Williamson. I think I've done it like 6 times, but Ben Williamson had a really
He's the definition of unsung hero, isn't
he? Well, that's the thing, too, is it's easy to what's funny is he makes that error early on, and then he played terrific defense. One of the big plays to me, though, is that he gets that single, he steals second base, and then gets driven in, and then he lashes that double. It's not hard contact. Ben Williamson is making hard contact. It is just Jorge Polanco times 6 right now. Like a lot of ground balls and a lot of balls that are just into the gaps. To me, it's an off-season thing with Ben Williamson next year where you say, okay, cool. The hit tool's fine. Yeah. You got to drive the baseball. You have to drive the baseball. You have to give pitchers a reason to throw you questionable strikes. And I love that he fouls off so many pitches. And I love that, even though he doesn't draw walks, how many times have we seen Ben Williamson get to a 3-2 count, right?
Yeah.
Like where he fouls off a bunch of pitches. That matters. And it's huge because it's turning over the lineup. It gives JP Crawford and Julio and those guys to see more pitches.
Yep.
That is why, for me, he is this often the times the unsung hero. You could go with Bizzardo. You could go with a few guys, but
I am going to go with Bizzardo just because he looked as good as I've ever seen him today.
It was awesome. Yeah.
And against like kind of the meat of the order too. Plus he gives you 2 innings in a day where Bryce Miller barely gets through 5. So that saves your bullpen for the next couple games. Hopefully it matters. I'll be at Chris Munoz in like a week again, by the way.
Yeah.
Because Mariners haven't been in winning situations. Yeah. That's kind of how it goes. So here we are, guys. Here we are. Thanks for hanging with us. Really appreciate it. Anything else before we get out of here, Chris?
Donate to Ty and Colby's Feeding America, please.
Yes,
thank you.
Please do. And check out their episode tomorrow. They have some great stuff coming this week. I won't spoil it at all. I want you guys to be surprised. And come hang with us tomorrow because hopefully the Mariners come back and win this one. I would love to talk about some winning baseball again. That sounds like fun.
It feels like so long ago, man.
I know. It's weird. We just won the Minnesota series.
I know. So it's like just right there, but it feels like 4-game losing streaks often feel like 9 or 10. It's
true, especially when you do a daily show.
Especially when you do a daily show. Absolutely.
All right. Well, really appreciate you guys all coming and hanging out with us. You guys are great. The vibes aren't great right now. Hopefully, you get some. You get ace stuff from Luis Castillo tomorrow. I think he comes out and absolutely shoves. To be honest, that's my quick hot take. So if you're going to use your FanDuel, if you're in a place where you can do it, I'd go up on the strikeouts with Luis Castillo because he has been showing that he has some much better swing and miss stuff as of late. And the Angels are pretty aggressive. So
love that call.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff, Chris. Thank you guys so much for hanging. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Go Mariners.